Imagine this. A 19-year-old kid smiles at a judge like he's checking into a hotel, not walking into a courtroom, because his family has always lived by special protocols, not ordinary rules. The municipal courtroom in Providence smells of old varnished wood and paper. Benches are worn smooth where coats and hands have polished them over the years. A vent hums softly above, and somewhere in the back a chair creaks as someone shifts their weight. People murmur, clutching their citations, waiting to get back to work, to lunch, to life. Just another morning of small violations. Then the door opens, and the air changes. He walks in wearing a suit that looks a size too serious for his age. Dark jacket, sharp tie, fresh haircut. On the surface, composed. But his fingers never quite stop, smoothing his sleeve, touching the edge of the folder he carries, tapping once against his thigh. Next case, Liam Rivers, the clerk calls. Heads turn. The name lands with a faint ripple. In the third row, an older man leans toward his wife. "That's the UN advisor's boy, right?" he whispers. Liam steps up to the mic, lays his folder down carefully, squares his shoulders like he's facing a press conference, not a judge. "Good morning, sir," Judge Caprio says, voice warm but steady. "Good morning, Your Honor," Liam answers in that polished, international school tone, polite, practiced, just a little too smooth. The clerk reads off the charges: speeding in a school zone, unpaid parking tickets, one violation for parking in a space reserved for veterans. It should be routine, a few minutes and done. "Mr. Rivers," Caprio asks, "you have several unpaid tickets here. Why didn't you take care of them?" Liam lifts one shoulder, a small, almost bored shrug. The corner of his mouth flickers with a half-smile. "Where I come from, Your Honor, things like that are usually handled by protocol staff." The word protocol hangs in the room like a bad joke. The low hum of side conversations dies out. Someone clicks a pen and then stops. A veteran in a faded ball cap shifts, jaw tightening, and looks away toward the flag on the wall. "By staff," the judge repeats. "Yes, sir. My father works for the United Nations. We move a lot. There's always someone whose job it is to deal with this sort of thing. I didn't even know there was a court date until yesterday." The sentence is neat, confident, but older ears in the room hear the thin strand of fear hiding under the training. "Do you understand," Caprio says slowly, "that these sorts of things are violations of the law in this city?" Liam swallows. His eyes flick over the benches, searching for a friendly face, someone to confirm that this is just an inconvenience. All he finds are people watching him the way they'd watch a car speeding toward a red light. He tries to lean back into bravado. "With respect, Your Honor, I don't think anyone was really hurt." No one laughs. The silence this time is heavier. In the back, someone mutters just loud enough. "That's what they all say?" Until somebody is. Judge Caprio glances down at the file again, then back up at the young man. Whatever he saw in that first moment, the smile, the suit, the name, is already rearranging itself into something more complicated. "Let's talk about how you got here, Mr. Rivers," he says quietly. And for the first time since he walked in, Liam's smile slips away. "Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel." For a moment, Liam just stands there, palms flat on the podium, as if weighing how honest he dares to be. The courtroom is quiet enough to hear the soft buzz of the fluorescent lights. "Tell me about yourself," Caprio says. "Not your father. You." Liam clears his throat. "I was born in Geneva. Or New York. Depends who you ask." A thin, nervous smile. "We moved a lot." "Because of your father's work?" "Yes, sir. Peacekeeping missions. Negotiations. Summits." He lists them like items on a resume someone else wrote for him. Different countries. Different schools. Caprio nods. "And the rules were the same everywhere?" Liam hesitates. His answer comes slower now. "No, not really. There were always exceptions. Diplomatic plates. Security details. When there was trouble, it went through channels. I never saw this. Then abwadid zal bagladum. La vie, properi. Ludzie jasherva kortkami e krat kriziter thimipopkami. You ever stand at a counter like that?" Caprio asks, tipping his head toward the clerk. "And pay a ticket yourself?" Liam looks down. "No, sir. Who did it for you?" "There's always a coordinator. An assistant. Back home we call them protocol officers. They take care of the logistics." "The logistics being your mistakes," Caprio says, not unkindly. Liam's jaw tightens. Where I grew up, they told us to focus on big things. Policy, security, elections. Speeding tickets were noise. A woman in the second row exhales sharply. The sound cuts through the room like a pin dropping. And at home, the judge asks, "What did your parents tell you about responsibility?" He doesn't answer right away. When he does, his voice has lost that polished confidence. "My mother was always on a plane," he says. "Conferences, panels, interviews. She sends articles more than she sends messages." He swallows. "My father, he believes in order. Schedules. Results." A faint, bitter laugh. "If I got a B in school, he'd call it a diplomatic failure." In his world, Caprio says, "What do you do with failure?" "You bury it," Liam says quietly. "Or you assign it to someone lower down." He catches himself, glances up, knowing how that sounds, but it's too late to pull it back. "So when these tickets came," the judge continues, tapping the folder, "you assumed that they'd go through the same process as everything else," Liam admits. "They always used to. Letters came to the residence. Someone in the office logged them. I signed where they told me, and they disappeared." "Did you ask?" Caprio presses. "Did you ever say, 'I broke a rule, let me fix it'?" Liam shakes his head. "No, Your Honor. They always said my job was to stay out of the headlines and not embarrass my father. That was it." There's a murmur along the back row. A man in a veteran's cap folds his arms a little tighter, not in anger now, but in something closer to recognition. Caprio leans back slightly, studying the young man. "Earlier you said, 'We're used to special protocols.' Who taught you that phrase?" Liam opens his mouth, closes it, then answers with a kind of weary honesty. "My father. When I was little and asked why we didn't wait in lines like everyone else, he said, 'We serve on a different level, Liam. Systems are there for ordinary people. We have protocols.'" He pauses, fingertips pressing a nervous rhythm on the wood. "I used to think that meant we were important," he adds. "Lately it just feels like I miss learning how to be a normal person." The room is still. No one shuffles, no one coughs. Even the clerk has stopped flipping papers. Caprio's tone softens, but the words stay firm. "So today is the first time the consequence didn't vanish into a protocol." "Yes, sir." "How does it feel?" Liam lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "Like I've been driving with the windows tinted my whole life," he says hoarsely, "and somebody just rolled them down." Caprio folds his hands, the file still open in front of him. "Then let's look all the way out that window," he says. "Because these tickets say more than you think they do." Caprio turns a page in the folder, and the soft rasp of paper sounds louder than it should. Liam straightens, but his shoulders stay tense, as if he already senses that the ground beneath him is about to shift. "Let's go through these one at a time," the judge says. Slowly. A screen flickers on behind him, showing the first photo, the diplomatic-plated sedan angled across a parking space marked reserved for veterans. A clipped timestamp glows in the corner. "You told me you were alone," Caprio says. "Is that still your statement?" "Yes," Liam replies automatically. Too fast. The judge waits. The silence stretches. Then, "I believe so," Liam adds. That word, believe, earns a ripple of whispers across the room. Caprio's eyebrow lifts a fraction. "You believe so, but you're not sure." Liam's throat bobs. "It was a long week, sir. A lot was going on." "Liam," Caprio says gently, "you're 19. A week shouldn't be that complicated that you can't recall who sat beside you." Another photo appears. A side-angle shot. The silhouette of someone in the passenger seat, barely visible, but undeniably there. The room goes still. "Who is this?" Caprio asks. Liam stares at the image as if hoping it will rearrange itself. "It could be a friend?" "A friend with white hair?" the judge asks dryly. There's a low wave of murmurs. Even those who came for their own cases lean forward. Liam's hands clench. His voice cracks slightly. I didn't say that." "You didn't need to," Caprio replies. He gestures, and the clerk hands him a thin folder with a red clip. The judge flips it open. "These," he says, "are notes from the officer who issued your first ticket. He reported that when he approached the car, the man in the passenger seat told him, and I quote, 'We'll deal with this through channels. Just put the citation on the windshield, son.'" Every head in the room swivels back to Liam. "That wasn't me," Liam says, the words tumbling out. "I didn't say that." "No," Caprio answers softly. You didn't. The officer wasn't talking about you. Liam's jaw locks. He knows what's coming next. The judge clicks to the next image. A sharper photo, municipal security camera footage. Same car, same day. And stepping out of the passenger side is a tall man in a navy suit, silver hair swept back, a posture trained over decades of authority. Liam's father. The sound that follows isn't a gasp, it's worse. It's a heavy, stunned hush, like a room exhaling all at once. Caprio's voice stays even. Earlier, you implied you were alone. Why? I didn't want Liam stops. Breathes. I didn't want him dragged into this. Caprio studies him. Dragged? Liam, he was there. The young man flinches, as if someone had slammed a door behind him. The judge lifts another document. This vehicle is registered under the Diplomatic Technical Fund, a fund meant for transportation of foreign delegates and essential personnel. Your father does not qualify as either in this context. Nor do you. A woman in the second row mutters, unbelievable. A retired Marine in the back folds his arms and shakes his head. Liam whispers, he told me it was fine, that everything we do is covered. And you believed him? Yes. Even when the letters came. Even when the notices warned of escalating penalties. Liam hesitates, not in defiance, but in shame. I didn't read them. Dad said the office would handle it. Caprio leans forward. Liam, this isn't a matter of one mistake. It's a pattern, a system you grew up inside of, one that taught you the world bends around you. The young man lowers his eyes. I know, but the judge isn't done. Let me ask you one more thing, Caprio says quietly. A difficult thing. Liam's shoulders tense. If I were to call your father right now, ask why he used a vehicle designated for public service to run personal errands, what do you think he'd say? A long pause. I don't know, Liam murmurs. Maybe that it's complicated, that I shouldn't question him. And you never have. Not once, he whispers. This confession lands heavier than any photo, any document. The courtroom feels smaller, tighter, as though everyone is holding the same breath. Caprio sets the papers down gently. Liam, the truth isn't here to punish you. It's here to free you. But we can't get to it if you keep protecting someone who taught you to hide. Liam looks up, truly looks up, for the first time since he entered the courtroom. His composure is gone. What remains is a frightened, exhausted young man caught between loyalty and conscience. I don't want to hide anymore, he says, the words trembling but real. And with that, the story crosses its first point of no return. The courtroom has settled into an uneasy quiet when Caprio lifts his hand gently, signaling he isn't done. Before we move forward, he says, there's someone who requested to speak. Heads turn as a man in a modest gray suit rises from the back row. He's in his late 50s, glasses slipping down his nose, a thin folder clutched awkwardly under his arm. He looks like someone who is always trying not to be noticed. But right now, every pair of eyes follows him. I'm with the diplomatic mission, he says softly, stepping up to the small podium. I was here to drop documents for another case, but I heard the boy's name. Liam Rivers. He swallows, glancing at the young man. Your Honor, I believe I can clarify what he meant by protocols. A hum rolls through the room. Even Caprio leans back slightly, studying this unexpected witness with renewed focus. The man continues, voice trembling not from fear of the judge, but from the moral weight of speaking out. Liam's father, Ambassador Rivers, frequently bypassed local rules. He would park wherever he chose, cancel citations through contacts he shouldn't have called, and tell staff to rush things through channels. He encouraged a culture where consequences were optional. A low, disbelieving exhale sweeps across the room. But then the man says something that changes the atmosphere entirely. And the night neighbors saw Liam sitting in that car, his voice grows quieter. He wasn't partying. He wasn't out with friends. He'd come to the mission at midnight after his father called him a failure in front of staff. He sat outside for almost an hour before driving off. We didn't know where he went. Liam stiffens, as if the words physically hit him. His fingers curl around the edge of the table. He tries to breathe normally, but the inhale catches in his throat. The arrogance that once colored his expression is gone, replaced by something raw, fragile. Caprio studies him, and the warmth behind the judge's eyes sharpens with something like protective concern. Liam, he says, is that true? The teenager doesn't answer immediately. He stares down at his hands. His knuckles whiten. When he finally speaks, the words come out thin, shaking. I didn't want anyone to see me like that. Caprio's voice softens. Why did you want to leave home that night? Liam lifts his gaze slowly. This time, he doesn't hide behind practiced composure or the shadow of diplomatic privilege. He looks like a young man cornered by the truth he's never allowed himself to say aloud. Because I'm tired of living under someone else's passport, he whispers. Everything about me, my education, my friends, even my future, is something he chose. I don't remember choosing anything. His voice cracks. Even my name isn't mine. I was named after an uncle I never met, because my father thought it sounded stronger. A woman in the gallery wipes her eyes. A retired veteran shakes his head slowly and mutters, "Kid never stood a chance." Another man, less sympathetic, scoffs quietly. Convenient timing to play the victim. The split reaction only amplifies the emotional charge in the room. Liam's shoulders tremble as he continues, surprising even himself with what spills out. I thought if I followed the rules he made for me, his rules, I'd eventually feel like I belonged in that world. But I don't. I never did. Caprio waits. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't fill the silence. He lets the weight of Liam's confession settle. You realize, the judge says finally, that this moment, right here, is the first time you're telling your story instead of repeating someone else's. Liam nods weakly. I know. The judge holds his gaze with a mixture of firmness and deep, human understanding. And understand this as well, Liam. Truth spoken late is still truth. But you have to decide who you're going to be when this hearing ends. A hush settles again. Thick, reverent, almost painful. The boy who walked in wearing a suit tailored for a world he didn't choose is no longer trying to appear untouchable. His eyes are red, his chest rising and falling unevenly, the image of a young man whose mask has finally, irreversibly, shattered. No one in that room will ever see him the same way again. And for the first time, Liam doesn't seem entirely afraid of that. The room hasn't recovered from Liam's confession when Caprio signals to the clerk. Let's bring up the full record, he says calmly, as if assembling a delicate but undeniable puzzle. Papers shift, a printer hums in the corridor, and a digital log appears on the courtroom monitor. We're going to look at the citations in order, Caprio continues. His tone isn't accusatory, it's investigative, almost surgical. The clerk begins reading. Violation 1. Excessive speed, issued at 7:14 p.m. Violation 2. Illegal stop in a veterans only parking zone. Violation 3. Failure to respond to city notices. Then, Violation 4, 5, and 6, marked as resolved. A murmur sweeps the room. Caprio lifts a hand. Resolved, he repeats slowly. Interesting word. He turns toward the clerk. Who resolved them? The clerk scrolls, frowns, scrolls again. Your Honor, these were cleared through a request labeled as government override. But the digital signature, she adjusts her glasses, doesn't match any authorized official. The temperature in the room drops a degree. Caprio glances at Liam, whose face goes pale. Did you submit these requests? No, Liam whispers. I didn't even know they were gone. The judge nods. I didn't think you did. The realization ripples outward. Someone in the gallery mutters, so it wasn't the boy. Another responds, but someone did it for him. Then comes the deeper cut. A man in a neat city uniform jacket, someone who has been silent until now, steps forward. He holds a thin folder and looks directly at the judge. Your Honor, I checked an old log when I heard the name Rivers. He opens the folder. These override requests were faxed from the ambassador's private office. The number is unmistakable. Gasps, sharp as broken glass, scatter across the room. Liam's hands tighten in his lap. He shakes his head once, twice. I didn't ask for that, he says hoarsely. I swear. Caprio raises a calm palm. I believe you. But the next blow is heavier than any document. The door opens quietly. A woman in her 40s steps inside. Dark jacket, worn eyes, a badge clipped to her collar. She clears her throat. Your Honor, I worked for the ambassador for 17 years. Liam flinches. She continues, voice steady in a way that comes only from carrying truth for too long. That man's staff did more than schedule meetings. We were expected to shield his family from any public stain. When a citation came through, we were told to move it off the board. When something inconvenient happened, we were instructed to clean the footprint. She glances at Liam with unexpected gentleness. He didn't ask us to protect him. He didn't even know we were doing it. His father made decisions, and the boy lived with the results. The gallery falls into complete silence, one of those dense, almost spiritual silences where the truth presses down on everyone equally. Caprio folds his hands. This court, he says quietly, is not on a witch hunt. We aren't here to judge an absent parent, but we are responsible for understanding the forces that shaped this young man's choices. He turns to Liam. Do you understand now why this matters? Liam's breath trembles. Yes, Your Honor. Caprio leans slightly forward. This isn't about the law on paper. It's about the message you carried into this city, messages handed to you long before you stepped behind that wheel. Liam's voice cracks as he answers. I know, and I don't want to carry them anymore. A woman in the back row quietly wipes her cheeks. A retired firefighter folds his arms and nods slowly, as if recognizing the moment where a young man finally steps out of another person's shadow. Caprio lets the moment sit. Then, in the gentlest tone of the day, he says, We are close to the end, Liam. But the end must teach you something the beginning never did. The boy swallows, bracing for whatever comes next, knowing the truth has left no place to hide, but perhaps, for the first time, opened a place to begin. The room feels suspended, as if even the air is waiting. Caprio studies Liam for a long moment, not with judgment, but with the patient weight of someone who has seen 1,000 crossroads and recognizes another standing in front of him. Liam, he begins, voice low enough to pull the entire room forward. There are two kinds of mistakes. The ones you commit and the ones you inherit. Today, we are dealing with both. The boy stiffens, bracing for punishment. He expects a fine, a lecture, maybe a call to his father. What he receives instead is something he has never encountered in his life. Accountability shaped like compassion. Caprio folds his hands. You came here believing that privilege would protect you. But what you need isn't protection. It's clarity. A pause. And a chance to grow into someone who doesn't need anyone to clean his path. Liam lowers his eyes. He nods once, barely. I've considered your violations, Caprio continues. And I've considered the truth behind them. A monetary penalty won't teach you what you're missing. He lets the silence draw tight. So there will be no fine. A ripple of astonishment crosses the gallery. A few people lean forward, trying to understand where he's going. You said you were tired of living under protocols made by someone else, Caprio adds. So I'm assigning you something that doesn't belong to your father, your family, or the embassy. Liam looks up, eyes raw. You will volunteer, Caprio says softly. 40 hours at Harbor House Youth Center. They take in teenagers who left home because they felt unseen, unheard, or afraid of disappointing someone they could never satisfy. Another beat. I believe you can do some good there. A woman in the second row exhales sharply, as if she'd been holding her breath since the hearing began. An older man mutters, not unkindly, Now that's justice. Liam's composure cracks. Why would you give me that chance, he whispers. Because, Caprio replies, I see a young man standing in front of me, not a surname, not a diplomat's son. Just someone who wants to learn how to live by his own choices. His tone is firm but warm. And because punishment without purpose is just noise. The door at the back creaks open. Heads turn. Liam's father steps inside, still in his tailored suit, still carrying the gravity of his title like an invisible medal. He looks around the room as though expecting people to rise when he enters. Caprio doesn't budge. Your Honor, the man says, already attempting to assert control. I believe there's been a misunderstanding. My office will. Caprio cuts him off with a single raised hand. Sir, he says with impeccable calm. In this courtroom, I am the only one who establishes protocols. The man freezes. Someone in the gallery murmurs. About time he heard that. Liam turns toward his father, but for once doesn't shrink. His voice trembles, yet stands on its own legs. Dad, it's okay. I want this. For the first time, the father seems unsure of himself. He searches his son's face and finds a resolve he didn't put there. Caprio, watching them both, offers one final thought, not to shame, but to illuminate. Justice isn't about humiliating you, he tells the father gently. It's about freeing your son from a world where responsibility was always somebody else's job. The man swallows, but says nothing. Caprio returns his attention to Liam. You start next week. Report directly to the center director. And when you finish your hours, come back here. Not for punishment, for closure. Liam wipes his eyes with the heel of his hand. Thank you, Your Honor, he says, voice steadier. No one has ever talked to me like this. Not once. Caprio nods, a small gesture filled with meaning. Then let this be the first time. The gavel doesn't slam. Instead, Caprio closes the file gently, as if sealing a chapter rather than ending a case. The room remains silent as Liam steps away from the podium, lighter, straighter, and for the first time unshadowed. A woman near the aisle murmurs, "He's going to be all right." Another answers, "Tonight, he finally woke up." And as Liam exits the courtroom, the unspoken truth hangs warmly in the air. Some verdicts don't punish. They liberate.